everybody. Welcome to another episode of Project Lightwaves. I am one of your co-hosts today, Chastity. And once again, I'm here with Joe. How are you doing today, Joe?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I think the last episode was around, Halloween.
Yeah.
I know it's another holiday, again, at least for in America, Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So I have like a break for like the next week. I don't work, so that's pretty good.
Cool.
Anything on your end?
No, we we don't really celebrate this around here. Although we do
No,
have.
I meant like just yeah, like if you guys had like anything going on, like in general. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I just on the subject. We don't celebrate it, but we still have the Black Friday sale. So I guess
Okay.
commercially, it's still Thanksgiving technically here.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
no, and we don't really have any holiday until Christmas here, still,
Okay.
which already started on the radio. Yep.
Yeah, no, it's funny because like obviously like Thanksgiving, that's it could be a controversial holiday like in America for like historic reasons I won't get
Yeah,
into.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of a mixed bag holiday, and I know some other countries have like their own equivalent to like Thanksgiving. So that's just why I was curious because I know like Canada they have a Thanksgiving, but it's like in September or something. Like I don't know like how
Oh,
it works.
really?
I just know
I
that yeah, I
I
just I just know they call it Thanksgiving. And so I was just kind of curious like if you guys like had anything in November or if you
No,
guys just were
not
like
really.
waiting until like
Uh,
December.
no,
Okay.
even for Halloween we have like something that resembles Halloween, but it's not really called
The
Halloween.
same.
Yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, and like you said, just like Canada, it's at a different date as well. But
Okay.
we
See, that's
still
interesting.
it's in spirit it's still the same. We dress up and goof around.
Yeah, I just find it funny that like you guys don't have Thanksgiving again for obvious reasons, but
Yeah,
you guys do like the Black Friday thing, and it's like holidays might not be universal, but commercialism is. So capitalism it celebrates everybody's money, but
actually, yeah.
anyway.
Actually, we do have something on Monday. It's our Independence Day, so
Okay,
we have
okay.
that day off. Uh, Not really a holiday per se, but
Yeah, because I think like when I mentioned the Canada Thanksgiving thing, there's probably gonna be somebody who like is from Canada, like that one person that's like listening. It's like she's about to say is totally wrong, but like I think like their Thanksgiving is kind of like their Independence Day. I could be wrong, but like I think that's what it is. But I could be totally off base though. So like if I am, I'm sorry.
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not. I'm not even sure what your Thanksgiving is about. Is it?
You
So, I
I
couldn't even
mean,
correct if I wanted to.
it's really like I don't I think it's like Christmas or like people who aren't like Christmas is technically like a Christian holiday, but like people who aren't Christian like celebrate Christmas. So I think it's like one of
Really?
those things where I
So
mean I feel
like the
like
the pagan Christmas or something. I think that's
I mean at least like the way it's presented like again like all my life, especially as a child, where like it's always been presented as like a very like Jesus's like even though that it's not Jesus's birthday, like if you go like you do
yeah. It's in
research, but like
summer. Yeah.
yeah, like it's not Jesus's birthday at all, but like how it's like when you're young, like how it's presented, it's like this is when Jesus was born and all this types like how
I'm
we're
not.
getting deep into
I'm,
like religion.
yeah. I could get into this, but it's a complicated subject.
Yeah,
Uh,
like it's very complicated. Yeah, but like when I was older, I learned like everything I knew as a child was completely like a lie.
yep.
But like that's how it was presented. Like
Hmm.
especially like as a kid, like especially religion especially is like a touchy subject anyway, but like especially with Christianity where there's like different denominations. So like, you have, like for me, like I'm black and I'm like from southern USA, so like you have kind of like Southern Baptist Church and stuff like that, and things presented there can be very different than like the Catholic Church, which is technically a denomination of Christianity. So it's very complicated.
See here, for example, because we have two major, Christian religion, we have the two different Easter holidays because each one celebrates it at a specific time. So that's a good thing, I guess. We get 2 times 3 days. That's extra holidays.
I guess I have a question jumping off that. Do you all like have like well, I guess my first question, do you all celebrate Easter? And if not, do you all have like an equivalent to Easter?
No, Easter.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah, no, it's literally just Easter. It's
Okay. Yeah, because I wasn't sure like how it like if it's like a different name and stuff like that. Because I haven't celebrated Easter in years. Like like I probably.
I mean, I don't celebrate it either. I just get 3 days off, so that's why I know it's there.
Well, for us, we don't even get like we don't get days off. Like it comes. It's like an Easter Sunday, so it's like on the weekend. So. We get no days off.
No, they take it really seriously here, and you have to like visit a certain amount of churches and all that jazz,
Yeah, we're not like that.
Not into that.
They push candy. Like I feel like here, again. I mean, I guess that says a lot about America. How everything is like commercialized, but like it again turns into this thing where it's like. Normally people go to church and there's like the Easter Sunday and like they'll do things where like kids can like find eggs and like they decorate the eggs and stuff like that and there's like a lot of like Easter themed candy and stuff like that, and so that's why I feel like when you're a kid it's cool because it's like, oh, it's candy, and then once you become an adult it just stops being important unless you regularly go to church. It just kind of like becomes another day just because like, at least here
I mean it shifts.
That way.
It becomes about the next generation, your kids, your siblings' kids.
Yeah, I mean you're a dad like versus me. I'm like,
I
haven't reached that phase of my life yet. I'm like, oh god, I don't want to think about kids.
Yeah, I mean even before that, in my family we have the next generation was always has been there for a while. So even after we grew up and stopped believing in the rabbit or Santa Claus, there's always the new generation that you have to you have to preserve that for them and play.
That's true. That's very true. I guess. I mean, maybe maybe that'll come in a couple years because I'm a younger sibling, so like, and I'm sure in a couple years, my brother will probably like reach certain milestones, like getting married and like having kids and stuff. Because like so far, like in my like at least immediate family, there's only like one cousin of mine who has kids. He has like 5 kids. Like he has like a huge family, and then like nobody else, like all the cousins in the family, like nobody else has like kids or anything yet. So I think I haven't like experienced that yet, of like being an aunt or like having like the younger people in the family really, aside from the few times I've like hung around his kids, which is like really rare.
Yeah, you will. You'll have to play along, believe in Santa Claus as well for a while.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because I haven't believed in a long time. I guess we talked about religion. Now it's time
Speaking
to
of
destroy
Santa
religion.
Claus, there's another list we could talk about.
But I do, before we get into the list, so we gotta check twice.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Which is, you've been playing a game. You finished it,
Mm-hmm.
Guardians of the Galaxy. So I
Yep.
kind of just wanted to, see what your thoughts were about it. Because before it came out, I think people were very skeptical, especially like Square Enix and another Marvel game. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, like, when they first showed it off, I think people were kind of like checked out because I think they showed it a little bit too long. But it's been getting a
That was
lot of good praise.
that's the main
Okay.
issue. That was the main issue with the first showing. It, even though I thought it was a good showing, it went on for way too long.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, and feel free to interject, I think if they would have showed 16, I think nobody would have cared. I think
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
I think because the games people really wanted to see weren't there, people were like upset about that, and
Yes,
it's like, well, it,
because if you care about games, I honestly don't know why you would be down, except for that reason, because it had everything. Usually, we're not happy when we see a CG cutscene or not enough gameplay, and it had nothing but that. It had gameplay sections with even combat sections. So yeah, just like you said, if 16 had been there, maybe Guardians would have had a better reception then. Totally right.
yeah, yeah. I just think I think that like whole like Square Enix presents thing, there was just like some weird things from like Stranger, like the whole chaos,
Mhm.
you know. So I
Yeah.
think like if they would have had like a big banger, like even if it was for for spoken instead of 16, like I think if they would have had that, I think the whole narrative of that presentation would have changed. But it is what it is. As of right now, Guardians, is being praised. Like a lot of people are like, wait a minute, like this game is actually like really good, maybe even great. So can you just like touch on that? Like how has it been playing it?
I haven't seen the general reception online. I've watched a couple people play it, and like you said, it's surprising people in a positive way, and I can say that it did surprise me too. I wasn't really down on the game. I was actually pretty excited to play it and had moderate expectations, and I was even I was pleasantly surprised because while not perfect, the game did some things really well. Like I don't know if you've read anything about it, but the story is actually quite good, which goes to show that when you focus on it, instead of doing whatever the hell they did with Avengers, you can get it right and have a very decent product at the end. No, like I said, it's not a perfect game. The while fun, the combat is pretty limited. It kind of at first it's fun to control Peter and give orders to your party. Uh, it's it's fun and everything, but the more it's a pretty long game. It's like 20 to 25 hours long. So towards the end, it kind of wears off. The fun kind of it doesn't go away, but it starts getting pretty repetitive. The 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 skill tree isn't that deep. You don't unlock that much skills. It's not really an RPG. It's an action adventure game with you can't say it's a party because you control other characters.
One character, yeah.
Yeah. I'd compare it, to games like I haven't played Mass Effect. A lot of people have compared it to Mass Effect. I'd compare it as a game to the Uncharted games, where you go on exploring, and it's not really about the gameplay sections, which are just about shooting everywhere. It's not really that deep. But with a combat system that's kind of like Final Fantasy 15's combat system after it received the royal update where you can control your teammates. And I'm one of the people who thought it was, you know, fun to play 15. I didn't mind the combat system that much. I know it wasn't really a highlight of the game, but I thought it was really good spectacle, and I enjoyed being able to, you know, doing everything with Noctis, and then after it got the royal update, controlling the party members, even if it was pretty broken. And
can I ask a question really quickly?
yeah, sure.
Well, I guess what you said just confused me about like the updates, like the gameplay for Guardians feels like the updates 15 got for the Royal Edition. Because I played the Royal Edition briefly, I didn't finish it, but from my understanding, like the updates the Royal Edition got, and please correct me if I'm wrong, was that you could like it took the changes from like the DLC, so you could like switch and directly play as like Ignis and Gladio and stuff. So like I guess I'm just confused because I thought Guardians you don't switch to the other characters. I thought you just like tell them what to do.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
It's more that you. I mean, it's pretty limited what you could do when you switch to your characters. But you're right, technically. I meant before the update when you could give them orders, but there's you can do more with them in Guardians than you could do in 15 before it got the update. But yeah, you're right. It's more. We cannot switch to other characters in Guardians. You play just as Peter and you give them orders. That's correct.
Because what you were saying about like Mass Effect, and you were saying like you haven't played it, so you didn't have like the frame of reference. And I would agree. Like from what I've seen, it does seem like because like in Mass Effect, you usually like you'll go on missions and you can like take like 2 people as a part of your squad, and there's like a power wheel, and like you can basically tell like the other squad mates to do what to do in the power wheel, and then the power wheel also has options for like shepherd your character too, and that's what Guardians kind of look like to me. It's just you're doing that for like 4, I believe 4 other characters if I'm counting right, or at least 3 other characters I think.
4.
Yeah, instead of just 2. Okay, it's 4. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, you're doing it for 4 instead of 2. So.
I thought I originally thought that the comparisons with Mass Effect was because of the, you know, the dialogue choices. But it's interesting that it's also quite similar in the gameplay style. That's interesting.
Oh, okay. I thought you were referring to like the power, like the gameplay aspect. Yeah, because then it's both. I mean, to me, like I feel like the dialogue wheel to me that's I call that the BioWare thing. Like I consider that more of like across all of their games.
True.
Versus because like the power wheel thing, in my opinion, I mean I guess Dragon Age had it too, but I feel like Dragon Age kind of like changed it up. So I guess they're both kind of BioWare things in a way. But yeah, that is really interesting. I guess one other question I have, like while you were talking, where you were saying that like while it was still fun, it started to get repetitive.
Yeah.
Would you say like if the other characters had been directly controllable, do you feel like that would have maybe like stopped it from being like somewhat repetitive, or do you feel like it wouldn't have mattered?
I'm not sure. If they had the time, maybe they could have made it, you know, they could have had a deeper combat system. I think if they had chosen to go for this route and make everyone playable, it would have ended just like the Avengers game, which wasn't ideal because even though each character had its own play style, they really ended up just playing the same at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I guess.
yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. I'm sorry. No, I was just gonna say I guess my counterpoint to this, and I was kind of thinking this when you were talking, where you were mentioning like Avengers and like the story. Like if Avengers had placed, I can't remember exactly like your exact statement, but you're kind of basically kind of like drawing parallels between like Avengers issues and like maybe it would have gone well if they would have just focused on the story. And I think again, like I've downloaded Avengers, but I haven't had the chance to play it. But like from my understanding, I thought it was kind of agreed upon that like the story was actually like at least decent to good, but like again the main draw was like it being a game as a service. So I feel like the issues surrounding that game had nothing to do with like the single player elements, at least from my understanding. Like I feel like if Avengers they would have went all in on just making it a
Right.
single player game, then like
Right.
it would have been fine. But
Here's the thing.
I think yeah.
The campaign in Avengers is way shorter than this, and it's it's not really it's not that polished. So while I enjoyed it for what it was, it still pales in comparison when to the campaign in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I see.
Everything, from explorations, environment, enemy variety, everything. It has way more diversity than Avengers in every aspect.
Okay, that makes sense. I guess I just wonder like if when I look at Avengers, I just think if this game wasn't a game as a service, and maybe also if they had gotten a team that probably could have better handled a game as a service, because there was that whole statement from like square-enix CEO where he was talking about they need to align their studios with projects. It
wasn't wrong, sense.
And people were like seeing that as like shade to Crystal Dynamics, and it's like no, I feel like that was him like acknowledging. Yeah, like I didn't agree with that. Like it felt like him acknowledging that one, like the company messed up. And I have my personal opinions on Crystal Dynamics. Like I personally feel like I think they're like a B tier studio at best. Like I think people are expecting like I feel like people are expecting like if Avengers had been like a single player game, it would have been like Insomniac Spider-Man, and I don't think we would have gotten that even if they had the resources to like fully make a single player game. But that's just my personal opinion. That might be a hot take. I don't know, but that's just based on like the games I've played by them. But I do feel like I do feel like when you make like a team based game, like it is kind of like crucial to have like everyone at least try to have diversity and like the amount of characters playable. I think with Guardians, I think they got away with it, but I think in Avengers like
they couldn't.
Like in Avengers, like there's no way, like whether it was a single player game or if like they stuck with the game as a service aspect and it was made by another studio, everybody would have had to be playable. And I think that's just a challenge that I think games are just gonna have to address. Like I know we've talked about like the difficulties of game development and stuff before, but I feel like especially as superheroes become increasingly more popular, and I'm sure there's going to be more team-based games. I'm sure DC will like jump on, making like a Justice League game or something down the line. You're going to have to address having every character playable and making sure they play well and the game being good. So that's just, I guess, my little tangent of thoughts. So I don't know if you want to like say any final thoughts on it, Guardians.
Yeah, we've already talked about this. I think I've already said that I personally think that it's way harder to make an Avengers game than Guardians or Spider-Man game. Uh, Final thoughts on Guardians. Really, really good game. It's not my game of the year or anything, but I really enjoyed my time with it. I really liked the story. The graphics were great. Super polished. It had some jank during the combat, but that honestly wasn't really what it was pretty minor. And the soundtrack is excellent. That's all I have to say about it.
I feel like the Jade aspect, I feel like that it seems like it would be kind of unavoidable due to like Peter's gameplay, because like that's something I at least admire of like you don't really see games where like someone's like flying around in like combat and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So I would assume like
I
it's
I
probably more forgivable because of that.
I don't know if you've watched any playthrough. I think you, knowing you like exploration and stuff like that, I think you'd find some enjoyment because they use party abilities not only during combat but also to, explore the environments and I think you'd find it pretty neat. And that's
It's
usually the where we also see some jank, uh, uh, not only with just the flying around with Peter and there is jank there, but sometimes you have it's stuck in you're stuck somewhere while you're exploring and you have to reload a checkpoint. It's pretty minor. Usually the game saves often, so it's not you don't lose too much playtime.
okay. That also what you just said reminded me of something I meant to ask you, but okay. I am kind of interested in like trying the game. I'm not sure if I want to wait till like
Game Pass.
Microsoft slides Square Enix a check and it hits Game Pass. I know it's on
It will.
sale.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
will.
it will. It will. So I'm kind of like debating whether like to wait until that, or I know it's on sale. I think for like $30 for Black Friday, and I'm
Yep.
trying to get like a PS5 this week.
Oh, good.
So yeah, so I'm kind of like, well, maybe that could be like a game I buy to like try out like on a new gen console if I'm able to get one.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I will say what you just said about like the exploration and kind of like the jank and stuff. That reminded me of your comment earlier about the skill tree and how it kind of doesn't matter. And that was an issue with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which the same studio made, like
I
IDOS.
It's not really
Oh,
that
go ahead.
doesn't matter. It's pretty limited. Each character has like four skill you can unlock, and that's it. That's
Oh, wow, wow.
yeah.
What's the point of it then?
It's only really three skills, and the fourth one you get during the story, and that's it. That's super limited,
No,
like I
that's,
said.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, wow. That's actually the see, and that's the thing. That's actually the exact. Like, I wonder if they take like complaints that they've gotten in like these Tomb Raider games and then apply it, but go in like the extreme direction
Yeah.
because Shadow of the Tomb Raider had like a skill tree and it was it was a lot and like I feel like a lot of the skills you use like you barely would even use but there was like so much stuff so it's very interesting that like they went in like the total different
Like
in
how
a whole
much?
another
For example, Peter, and I'm talking for the other guardians. They had like three skills. Peter had like 15 passive skill he could unlock. Not really skills, offensive skills, just like passive skills. He could unlock like he could fly longer with or have a better shield or stuff like that. So maybe that's what you meant.
yeah like Laura and like Shadow of the Tomb Raider there's like this giant skill tree like it's a lot like I don't think
Oh,
I like finished like getting everything like when I beat the game and I remember that being like a common criticism where people are like there's it was an issue on top of that because Shadow again was them like taking criticism and trying to make it more Tomb Raidery so there wasn't as much combat like constant shootouts and stuff to
Yeah.
justify like all these like battle skills and stuff that you would need because you weren't fighting as much as the other two games. So um, that was just something that came to me while you were talking, and I know it's made by the same people.
Maybe that's a problem that Avengers have, not Guardians. I remember a lot of
Okay.
skills I didn't even bother unlocking because they didn't seem worth it. And by the time
Yeah.
I finished the game, I had a ton of unlocked skills that I didn't, give the time of day.
That's
So maybe
that's
that's
interesting.
that's where it carried over from Tomb Raider.
That's interesting. All right. Well, that was one of the questions I had, and I just kind of wanted to see what your thoughts were, and I'm sure the audience,
Yeah.
if they haven't played it yet,
Yep.
they would
Good game.
appreciate everything you
8
said.
out of 10. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, now it's time for the list that we hinted at earlier, which is that a
It's
while back.
pretty
Oh,
good.
go ahead. Do you want to talk?
Yeah, I'm not just
Do you?
adding. Yeah.
Okay. No, I was gonna say if you want to like describe what it is, feel free to go ahead. If you
Uh,
want to.
well, it's a list of that leaked list of very good games. Uh, and yeah, more seriously, it's a list that leaked from GeForce for not only Square Enix game, but a bunch of other games too, with potential release dates, and there's some interesting titles in there.
All right. Yeah. So we'll basically be reading from a thread from Resetera, which kind of like Joe said, it touches on like various other like publishers and studios like PlayStation, Xbox, Sega, Capcom, EA, Warner Bros, Bandai. Um, yeah, there's a lot here, so you can feel free to like search for it. I'm sure if you just type in like GeForce games and like you'll find something about it. But we'll just be focusing on the Square Enix side of things. So starting off, we have the first game listed as a Chrono Cross remaster, and the earliest street date listed is December 1st, 2021. And right off the jump, we can say this is a placeholder. That's a placeholder date. But anyway, what do you
Why
think?
would you say that? I'm totally expecting it to release in a few days. Why? What's wrong with that? This one, if it doesn't happen, it would actually break my heart more than any other game in there. Really wanted to replay it and was waiting for remaster.
Okay, I didn't know you're a Chrono Cross fan. Okay.
I am. I like both Chrono games.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to draw a line in the sand when it comes to like Chrono games. It's like you either like Trigger or you like Cross, and like the fans are like
as
always
long as
violently
you
fighting each other.
yeah, as long as you forget that, like that, you keep in mind that it's not really a sequel. I think that it's fine if you're expecting it to be a direct sequel to Trigger. You're gonna get mad. It's obvious.
Yeah, I think I haven't played it yet. I do not like the spoilers about it because like I've seen fans fighting, and when you see the fans fighting, it's hard not to like get spoiled on stuff.
Yeah.
And I've also looked into the plot myself, and it does seem like I could understand like if you were like 8 or like 10, you played Trigger and it was like your
Yeah.
favorite game, and then you
Yeah.
play this sequel and you're like, oh, Chrono, like a sequel to like Chrono Trigger, and then you're like, what the hell is this? I could understand like the frustration, but it's also been like 20 years, so like I think people should just let it go. I'm interested in playing it. I feel like I won't like it, but I'm willing to have my mind changed. But I would like to play it too. So, so yeah, I guess what do you feel like the valid, like, do you feel like this this is real, like it has like a real valid chance of like coming out?
Two things. Does it have a chance? Yeah, totally. Now, my one concern is the fact that they're calling it a remaster, and that's historically it's not. When it comes to Square Enix,
Yeah.
anything called remaster is not old. But I'm gonna try to stay positive, and especially that it's a PlayStation 1 game, so it shouldn't be. But Final Fantasy 8 was a PlayStation 1 game too, and they messed that up. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's it's really possible to happen, and it's really not. Uh, they released Chrono remaster of Chrono Trigger not too long ago. The Chrono Cross remaster would also make sense.
Yeah, and you just reminded me of something I think we kind of like forgot to like mention, establish that like we mention these dates. It's in the context of a like a plate like a not place a PC release.
Yeah,
Just so, just
Yeah,
so
it's
that's clear.
GeForce, and I think that the GeForce or Nvidia already stated that it's just placeholders, not only dates but also title names, right?
Yeah, title names too. Yeah, I think it
It's
was
not
like some of
guaranteed.
these are random. Yeah, some of these can be random. Yeah.
I mean, it will
Yeah.
become obvious as we move on into the list, because there's one in that list that I really don't believe is even in production at the moment. So
Yeah.
we'll get
Um,
there.
yeah, there's some interesting things. We'll get there. I guess for me, the Chrono Cross, I think you hit the nail on the head about the remaster element of how if this is real, I'm expecting what they did with 8, where there's like updated models, and then the
Yeah.
backgrounds will probably look terrible, which is disappointing because I've seen gifs of like people will post like the pre-rendered backgrounds from Cross, and they're beautiful. Like that's kind of like the main reason I wanted to play it, just because I feel like the environments like look really cool, and like plot aside, like I just wanted to experience it for that, and I feel like they probably won't do that aspect of the game justice if like the HD ports and quote unquote remasters of the Final Fantasy games from like the PS1 era are anything to go by.
Yeah. They lately the Square has seemingly nailed, well, not perfectly. They're not doing it perfectly, but the remaster of older Final Fantasy games have been received quite well. The pixel remasters were okay.
Yeah.
The Saga games seemed okay. So that the but when it comes to PlayStation 1 games, I'm really not sure. So and we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and not to go on off a tangent, but like you really made a great point about the pixel remasters, because not only do they like look nice, like I think some people have like nitpicks, but that's like hardcore fan stuff. Like I think from like a casual like person who just wants to jump in and play the old games, I think these are like great. Especially like the music element that
Yep.
like
Yes.
they have these new remixes, and it's kind of like, why didn't the PS1 games get anything like that? Like that would have been really cool, but I don't know. It just makes you think. Like they kind of those just look like half baked in comparison now. Like when you just look back, like there's so many elements that could have been done better, but
Yeah.
oh well. Well, I guess my final question here would be, this is saying this is a like if this is like a range, this like December 2021 or whatever, where do you feel like, if this remaster is real, excuse me, where do you feel like this will be announced? Because I know, was it this year? Square Enix had like a Square Enix present in
Yes.
like
It was.
February, I think.
Yeah. Maybe. I think. Looking at this date, maybe they initially had something during E3, and then it was pushed because of the pandemic. So maybe something in February. I can't imagine anything this game showing at the Game Awards. That's
No.
not happening. No.
Unless it's a pre-show type thing.
Yeah, maybe. I honestly can't say for sure. But if the like you said, we're not sure about the Square Enix dates. They seem all placeholders. Maybe in the next couple of months they can show something, and I imagine a game like this would release really shortly after reveal.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. That's what happened with the other ports. I guess I'm going to skip over the second one in this list. I'm going to come back to it, but something you said made me want to jump to 16.
Okay.
Which is that when we're talking about, when they could show this, and there's like the debate about whether, if 16 is shown at the Game Awards, and I'm like, if it is there, I'm like, okay, that's great, but I feel like we're at the part of like 16's, like release where you need to give information. Like I think like the information dump needs to happen. Yeah, very badly. And so I guess when you're saying that, I think if Square Enix shows 16 at the TGA, and then maybe they have their own like stream or like presentation thing in like January and February, because I think in a previous episode we talked about whether they would have something for the anniversary.
Yeah.
And I remember for the 30th anniversary they had a stream in January.
Yeah.
And obviously Chrono Cross isn't like Final Fantasy, but maybe they could do like a Square Enix present instead of like a Pacific Final Fantasy stream.
Yeah.
And we get like a deep dive into 16. Maybe they announce, this Chrono Cross remaster, stuff like that. So that was my thinking as far as maybe that's how it can all be wrapped up. But that also is too neat for Square Enix. That would make too much sense. So I don't know.
Well, we've talked about this. They did it once with 7 remake. So they're capable of doing it. I'm hoping they can do it again for the title as important as Final Fantasy 16. Hopefully.
Yeah, so I guess we can transition into 16's. This, the earliest street date listed on here is that it's March 1st, 2023. And the original poster, the creator of this thread, they made a note that if the PS5 exclusivity, I can't speak today, is 6 months, does this mean the game is targeting September?
It's a good thing I didn't have to read that one.
Yeah. It's like one of those things, like you can say it in your head, and then when you have to say it, it's like...
You said it better than I ever could. Trust me on that.
Yeah, exclusivity. Yeah, it's like... But yeah, if it's exclusive, yeah, like they made a note that if it's exclusive for PS5 for 6 months, does this mean the game is targeting September 2022 on PS5? So what do you think about that?
Are we? I think I can click on this. Are we sure the exclusivity? It will be exclusive for 6 months only.
And that was my question, because I remember.
I'm gonna click on this. All right, let's check it.
Yeah, you click on that, and because I remember with the remake, people kept saying like, "Oh,
1 year.
The PS."
It should be
1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was 1 year, and then Yuffie's DLC came out, but then people were like, "Oh, they just bought, like Sony just bought exclusivity for like 6 months," and I'm like, "Where are y'all getting 6 months from? Like, we don't know anything." This is where.
So I clicked on it. It took me to a Twitter thread from some guy look, keeping in mind that these dates are, like you said, most probably placeholder. I think that if we were to take, only the month and the year seriously, March of 2023, for me it would mean that 16 would release, like I was hoping for, in March of 2022, because the exclusive it should be exclusive for 1 year, not 6 months for me.
Okay.
No, don't agree.
I no, I was reading. I opened the tweet too, so I was like thinking of what you were saying, and also thinking about my main question is like this guy is supposedly like an industry analysis. So, because I guess my first question was like, who is this guy? like, why should we listen to him? But he seems like someone who at least knows what he's talking about. Um, I mean, for me, it's hard to say, especially because like these deals are like so weird.
Yeah.
And we don't really fully know like the full like intricacies of these. So like maybe this is a cop out answer, but like I don't know. I mean,
I
I
said,
just don't know.
I mean, for me, it's my answer is 90% wishful thinking, because I'm on copium and I wanted to release in March of 2022, so that's what I'm choosing to believe, I guess. But each day that passes, and especially after Endwalker was recently pushed back, I'm less and less convinced, but I still want to believe.
Yeah, because one thing I said in the Final Fantasy server was like, people are hyping up like the Game Awards, the Game Awards, the Game Awards. Like that's where we're gonna see it. And I'm like, what happens when we see it, but there's not a release date, or like there's no, because I feel like, based on like what Yoshi P said, you would think there would be like a release date, or at least like a release window. And I feel like what's gonna happen if we see it, I don't think. If we see a release window or release date, I don't think it's gonna be the release window people want. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I kind of do agree with what you're saying about like, Endwalker, just had a delay. In the grand scheme of things, it was a very, very short delay, but
it's still a delay. Yeah,
it's still a delay. It's just, and I don't think when he said, on the website that we'll hear information in 2021, I don't believe they were thinking you'll hear information at the very end of the year. Like, I do think something has happened. I don't think the game is in trouble, but like delayed. I think the game's been internally delayed. I think we're gonna find we haven't had a delay, like a date, so it hasn't been delayed in our eyes, but I think that's what happened. Like, I could be wrong, but I don't think this game is a summer or like fall 22 release. I want it to be, but I don't think it is. So
you're thinking more like September?
Like September of like 2022?
Yeah.
No, like for a console release?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it's I don't think it's coming out. Like, yeah, I think it's been delayed. Like eternally, like we don't know that, but like I think personally we're probably supposed to have like this information dump like they were talking about last year. I think we were supposed to have that already, and I think we haven't gotten that. And I don't think like people are like screaming for a trailer for the TGAs, but like he talked about like I don't think he wanted to do what like Nomura and like other people do when they pump out a Final Fantasy game, where you get like the trailer to hype people up, and it's like, see you next time. Like I feel like if like if there's a trailer at the Game Awards and it doesn't have something immediately, like you're gonna get information, like there's gonna be an event in like January, then like I think that's a problem. But maybe that's me being too harsh, but I just feel like based on like everything that's being said, like you would think it'd be like, hey, here's a trailer, Is there either a hard release date or at least a release window, and then here's something that says you're gonna get information right away. And I feel like if the next trailer doesn't have that, then I don't think it bodes well to the game being released in like fall or winter. But that's just me. That's just me.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you disagree? I don't know if that's a sad
I agree. It's a sad yeah. I'm sad. Yeah.
Okay.
But I do agree. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but yeah.
Sometimes
like
you have to.
Yeah, like I just feel like I feel like people. I feel like people have been like placing like unfair kind of like expectations on this team because they're the 14 team. They have it together. They're not like Nomura and blah blah blah. And I feel like
very different.
Yeah, and obviously they still have differences I guess in how they handle things. Like any team can have a delay. Like any team can have plans and stuff happens, and so I feel like people might be in it for a rude awakening. I mean, obviously, I think the game's going to come out and I think it's going to be fine, but I think people might just end up being a little disappointed. Like, hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully, like, you get like a fire trailer either way and it has a release date, everybody gets hyped, but I don't know. I'm not feeling it going into the Game Awards.
Yeah.
So I think that answers the
Thank you for tuning, everyone. See you next month.
Yeah. Yeah, like I know that's a downer, but yeah, I don't like like if there's
it's fine.
If there's the PC release for this, I don't think this is real. I don't think it's in the range of like what it's gonna be. I see the PC release for this game. If it is like a 6 months out type of thing, then it'll be like in the summer or even fall of 2023, depending on.
Or it could get pushed back again, just like they extended the exclusivity deal of 7 Remake for the UFA DLC. So you never know with these things.
That's true, but do you think 16 will actually because this game is clearly inspired by The Witcher 3. Like I know like people don't like bringing it up, but like it is. And The Witcher 3 was known for like having like these big expansions. So do you think like 16 has a chance of having like DLC? DLC in general, but like DLC to that level?
Never really thought about that. Maybe. I mean, 15 had a bunch, so why not?
That's true. But I guess for me, I was thinking more of like, because again, this is like, I feel like this team is trying to do things differently. So I was just kind of curious of like I feel like Kingdom Hearts 3, like the Remind DLC was them trying to do like a big expansion DLC, but it wasn't worth the money. Like I think most fans were like, like why are y'all like charging $30 for this? So, and it's like Yuffie's DLC was like nowhere near. I think it was like 20, but like, and I'm sure people could argue whether that was worth the money. I haven't played it, so I don't know. But yeah, I'm just curious, but I don't want to like go on a tangent here. So I think we've established where we stand on 16,
and we've talked a lot about 16 in the past couple of episodes. So
I mean it's hard not to though. It's hard not to. I don't think it's a hot take to say like it's the most anticipated Square Enix title.
For sure.
So all right, well now we're gonna go back up the list to the game that
we've already talked about.
We've talked about, which is the Final Fantasy IX Remake, and the earliest street date listed is April 1st, 2022. I don't think this is real at all.
No.
But
yeah. This could be, like, I think we've already talked about this, like, in the Square Enix present that you think will happen around around the beginning of the year, this is where that type of game could be announced.
Yeah, like I'm still, because earlier we established some of these are like placeholders. It might not even be real. I'm still on the fence of like whether this one is a placeholder.
Well,
Because
this
it's
one
just kind of so.
could be a multi-platform release, so it could release at the same time on console and PC. So
Wait, I guess for me it just feels random, like a Final Fantasy IX remake, and obviously, like you said, we talked about this, like we talked about we don't. This isn't like a Final Fantasy VII remake. It's not going to be on that level.
no.
But even then, like even if it's like an insane trilogy type of thing, I guess I just find the idea of it like so random. Like I know there's the show, but it sounds like the show won't be a thing until like 2023 or even 2024.
Oh,
So I guess it's just kind. I mean, I'm just thinking like it was announced like what this year, and like if it's a good show, like the animation for that would take at least like a year. Like
I'm trying to remember when they announced the World Ends With You anime and then released it. Should have been maybe like a year.
Yeah, it was like a year, and I think, and again, we also have to think about how long it will be because I didn't watch The World Ends With You anime, but it sounded like it was short because they condensed. Like I know someone who's like a big fan of those games, and they were kind of like upset that like I think they condensed a lot and things were cut out, blah blah blah. So I don't think that anime was like that long anyway. So I guess for me,
Okay,
yeah,
probably.
yeah. So, yeah, like I remember The Witcher 3, like when, they announced it was getting like that anime movie basically, and like I think that was just a movie, and I think like they announced that like a while before, like a while before it like released and like we saw it. So yeah, like I don't see this like. I mean, maybe they'll align it where it comes out with the show. I don't know, but I think that's just the thing that's throwing me off.
Yeah, even the
about this one,
the
but-
Final Fantasy 14 series that's been announced, we haven't heard anything
Yeah,
since
yeah,
then.
like
So.
yeah, which is weird because Netflix has a lot of other shows that are very CG extensive and stuff like that. That they're still being that's being shot, like they're still getting it going. So I still wonder if that. I feel like that might die. I mean, hopefully for Final Fantasy 14 fans it doesn't, but it just seems weird that like nothing's come out of that and it's been so long. But I don't know. Besides, I don't really have anything else to say about this one because I feel like we talked about it
Yep.
before.
Yep. Yes. That's
All
I
right.
don't have anything either. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So moving on, Final Fantasy 7 remake. The earliest street date is June 1st, 2022. And you mentioned it already about how like Sony probably got that extra year of being a PlayStation exclusive with the Yuffie DLC. So I think this one seems. I don't feel like, at least with me, I don't have much to say because I feel like it feels very straightforward. How about you?
It's that one's happening. Unless something crazy happened with Sony, like it's probably happening, and it will probably be exclusive to the Epic Game Store, right?
Yeah.
It's made with that engine, so yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and another one that is probably going to be exclusive to the Epic Game Store. It's Kingdom Hearts 4. September 30th, 2023.
No,
I don't think it's
happening.
It's not real. Yeah.
I think
the next Kingdom Hearts game is in the
this is the date where they start thinking about the development of this game. I really doubt Nomura has been working on this, even though he's been hands off with the series lately, and he's more like a creative director, he's still pretty involved, right?
He's basically the main writer. Like he's the Nojima for Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Whether that's a good thing, I don't know. But yeah, he writes the games along with someone else.
He's been too busy, I think. I don't think he's worked on that at all.
No, I think there's a Kingdom Hearts game coming out. It just ain't this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think like we're getting like
Spin-off.
we're getting one of the quote unquote what people don't like to say this a side game, but with like Riku, like probably like a Dream Drop Distance 2 type of thing, because I know Dream Drop Distance was just supposed to star Riku, like Sora wasn't supposed to be playable, which explains certain things about that game that I won't get into. So I'm just curious of whether this will be a game where they'll just say, hey, Riku is only playable. Or maybe they'll try to throw Kairi in there since they've hinted at her like being trained by Aqua. Maybe like she'll come in halfway. I don't know. But
it is time.
Yeah, like this, the whole setup of this next game should have been like Kairi and Riku going on a journey together. Like, yeah. But again, Kingdom Hearts pulled a Kingdom Hearts, so it is what it is. But yeah, I do feel like I think a Kingdom Hearts game is coming because it's the 20th anniversary.
Well, maybe that's the one they meant with this date, right? So maybe they just have they just don't have the name correctly.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. Like I think that I also wouldn't be surprised if there's a Kingdom Hearts game that we just don't know about, because I think the last episode we kind of talked about the possibility of a Kingdom Hearts 1 remake or something. And I feel like with the 20th anniversary, that's a big deal. And that's something. Yeah. So I feel like they can't just have like obviously fans, like hardcore fans and stuff, like are going to be happy with like a new game too. But I kind of feel like you need like some type of like celebratory title. Like I know like Melodies of Memory kind of like went through the music, like celebrating the music of Kingdom Hearts, but I kind of think you need something else. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's also another thing too. But yeah. There's no way Kingdom Hearts 4 is coming out next year.
I don't think so, yeah.
This other one, I think we can both agree is like an instant no, is Dragon Quest 12, The Flames of Fate, January 1st, 2023.
You're saying no, it won't make it on this date at all?
I don't think this game is coming out. Like if this game comes out in 2023, that could be possible, but there's no way it's coming out early 2023. Like this would be like a winter 2023 time. Because to me, it didn't even seem like this game seemed like pre-production when they announced it. Maybe I'm wrong, but like it didn't seem like like maybe they just had characters finalized on paper. Like I don't even think any of it, like anything had been like built yet.
I get it
for this game.
No,
I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not really familiar with the usual development cycle for Dragon Quest games, and especially for this one, since they're trying to change things up. Like the combat system is changing, and they seem to be wanting to make it more modern. So I really can't say. It maybe, like you said, it had really very early very early vibes, but maybe that's just because they didn't want to show anything. Because we have to keep in mind that Dragon Quest 11 released a long time ago now, so we have to assume that. We have to assume that the Dragon Quest 12 has been in the works since at least the definitive version of Dragon Quest 11 release. But I'm willing to bet it's been in development for even longer than that.
Yeah, yeah. Because I was gonna ask you if you remembered when Dragon Quest
Oh,
11
it's been a
came
while.
out.
It's been a while, especially since it released in Japan first.
It was 2017.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, it was 2017. Yeah, that's a good enough time.
yeah. So
Yeah, that's a good.
it's
Yeah,
been a
it is.
while. Uh,
Yeah, I guess maybe them just not showing anything kind of just threw me off because it's just because it like when they have the anniversary stream, like I feel like I had in my head like yeah, like it's been a while since 11, like they've re-released it like multiple times now.
yeah.
Um, so like oh you would announce new game and you would have something to show, but they're just like nah, like here's the title. And I'm like all right, so maybe I mean, who knows? Like maybe the next time we see this game, it is like no CG. Here's gameplay. Here's a story trailer. Maybe they just all out, and they are like, hey, this game is like, you know, November, December, like 22 or something, and like if it is, 2022 is gonna be a crazy year for Square Enix, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Uh, 2023 for this one, right?
But I thought when we're thinking PC, when I look at like
Oh,
these PC dates, I'm not thinking
well,
like these are like the dates
all right. Okay, no,
like
I
it comes
see.
out on console. Yeah.
I'm not sure how it's going to go this time. I think do you remember if they mentioned that they are aiming for an international release this time?
I'm not sure, but I think most people agree that the fact that like they tried to have it, they made it an international stream, even though like the translation and like they were doing it live, so it was
Yeah.
like really bad. It wasn't the translation people's fault. It was just the people speaking weren't really thinking of them in terms of like slowing down. But I think the fact that like they had this anniversary stream and they promoted it globally,
Yeah.
and then I think I think they're like trying to release like I think the one that's like an MMO like Dragon Quest X. Aren't they releasing like a offline version of that that's like
Just for
global?
Japan.
Oh, it's just Japan. Oh, then never
Yeah.
mind. Well, I
Yeah.
guess. Well, I guess. Yeah. Then yeah. Well, that sucks. But I think at least the stream aspect, people are saying that was a big deal.
I'm not sure, for some
So
reason I was under the impression that they specifically said they were trying to have an international release date with. In which case, I could see them releasing 12 on multiple platforms at the same time. What do you think?
I think Square Enix. I think at this point they've gotten on board of releasing all their games globally at the same time, and I think
Yeah.
Dragon Quest would just be playing catch up. But I think when it comes to PC releases, I think it's still gonna be a while before, especially with like Sony like giving them checks to like
Yeah.
delay ports. I don't see
Do you see
like Dragon Quest.
any type of exclusivity for Dragon Quest with the PlayStation?
Yeah, like I pretty much expect like all of their Japanese like the Japanese side of things to be exclusive to like PlayStation consoles
All
for
right.
like a year. Yeah, like yeah, that's unless it's at least they're big titles like things like Stranger like Paradise or whatever stuff
Yeah.
like that. I don't see Sony paying money for that, but I think like they're big heavy hitters. Yes, I don't
Let's
see
see.
them being like
The last
PC and like Xbox.
the wasn't the last exclusivity that Dragon Quest 11 had was with the Switch. Like, I think the definitive edition was exclusive to the Switch for a while,
Well,
right?
that's because I believe Nintendo like published it or something like they're involved
Oh,
like
okay.
like they're
Yeah, well, yeah.
I
Yeah, that makes
yeah
sense.
like I
That makes sense.
feel yeah like it's similar to like Octopath. Like I could be wrong, but I remember I feel like with things like 16, like that's just like 16 if Forspoken. I think some of that and like even the remake, those are like eternal choices. They want it to be exclusive to PlayStation 2. and then also Sony just sliding them a check. Whereas like some of the Nintendo exclusives like Octopath Traveler, I remember like Nintendo specifically was like involved in like publishing that game in like North America, if I remember correctly. Like it wasn't just hey, here's a check, put it on our system. I think they were involved like more directly. I could be wrong though, but that I feel like I vaguely remember that. So I wasn't Dragon Quest 11 like just the regular version? It was exclusive to like PlayStation originally, right? At least console wise.
This is what I'm trying to remember. I'm not sure. It's been a while.
I'm pretty sure like it wasn't on the Switch when it first like the Definite Edition is when it came to Switch.
Yeah, it wasn't really not because it was exclusive. I think the Square Enix was just very slow to port it because they were waiting on the Switch to prove itself or something. It was very early Switch days. I could be wrong though. It's been a while.
I mean, maybe that would make sense. Yeah, especially because like Dragon Quest is like huge in Japan. The Switch is huge in Japan, so like that. Yeah, like that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But I would also assume if they're going for like, I think the thing that would be interesting to see is like, how the ports are, because I know that was the issue with like the Definite Edition, where like people were upset that like when they ported the Definite Editions to like PlayStation 4, like Xbox and PC, it was based on like the Switch version. So like the Definite Editions technically look worse than like the original PlayStation 4.
Oh my God.
Like I mean, I think at the end of like it's Dragon Quest, so, like at the end of the day, like I think it's not like a huge thing.
What
but,
are
like,
you trying to say? What are you saying?
Well, no. Well, I mean, like to me,
kidding,
it's
I'm
like
kidding.
No, I know what you're saying, but yeah. Like for me, it's like with that style, it's not like The Last of Us.
True.
Like where the graphic fidelity, like man.
Someone had to say it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do. Well, I will say I do think like Dragon, it's a beautiful game. So like I get it. Like if you're gonna want to play this game like 4K and blah blah blah, like you want it to look the best it can be. But like for me, like I was playing this game on like a 1080. Like I didn't have like when I first played this game, I didn't have a 4K. Like I wasn't even playing it on like. I was playing it like literally on an OG Xbox One. Like I didn't even have like a Pro. Like I don't have a PS Pro or like a Xbox One X. So for me it's like none of this matters. But I get why people like why other people care. So I think it could go either way. It would be interesting to see what they do.
If I were to bet, I think I'd say that it could happen at this state. I can see it happening. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess. So do you think it's like a late 2022 game?
Yes. If it's not if they're not releasing it on all platforms at the same time, I think it could be a late 2022 game, and then a couple of months later it could come to PC. Could see it happening.
We could have a new Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy 16. If it doesn't have like a delay or anything.
Forspoken.
And a new Forspoken, which I still think that's gonna get a delay, but it'll still be 2022. Forspoken and a new Dragon Quest. That'd be crazy.
Yep. It's all in the same fiscal year too. Everything after March, it's
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy in a good way, just because of like all the memes about Square Enix.
I think we can blame all of this to we can blame the pandemic again, because a lot of titles were due this fiscal year, and Square didn't release that much, so I think we can assume that a lot got pushed back. Did you mention Final Fantasy Origin, by the way, in that list? It's also 2022.
But you know how I feel.
Yeah.
That
Sorry.
game doesn't exist. No, look, that game literally doesn't exist to me.
Oh
I
no,
almost felt
selective
insulted.
memory. Oh my god.
Like I almost felt insulted. Like, how dare you? No, I'm just kidding. But no,
It's
I do
fair
agree
enough.
about
Fair enough,
I do agree about like the delays, but I also feel like for me, like the rumor, of course, was that there was a rumor from an insider who had been right about things that 16 was originally supposed to like be
Yep.
released in 2020, the same year as the remake, which again, that would have been insane. But like when I think about that, even if you factor in like COVID, and I know one of the aspects of it, I guess apparently getting delayed too, was that Sony paid for it to be a PS5 exclusive instead of it being cross-gen. And I'm like, well, I feel like even with those two factors, if it was supposed to be released in like 2020, and if it releases like late, like fall or like winter 22, that's like 2 years. And so I guess I just kind of wonder like whether that was like ever true.
Maybe if
'Cause-
if you remember the initial speculation of when they started the development of 16, it was right after Heavensward, so it's been a while.
yeah.
So maybe could be
Yeah,
true.
I guess I'm just kind of curious of like, because I know like the eternal debate, not to go on like 16 again, was that like how much could they really do? Like even if they switch it to like PS5, like yeah, they could probably make it look better because people were like this doesn't look like a next gen game, but like like the game
on.
isn't gonna be radically.
I literally imagine people sounding like this when they say that. That's spot on.
It's not like and I guess to be fair, I do have my own qualms with the trailer, but it's more with other things, not like how it looks. Because I think like if this is an open world game, like with that gameplay, and if it's like a huge game, like they go all out, I think how it looks is fine.
Yeah.
So it's just I don't know. It makes me think. I'm just curious. I'm just curious to see this game again. I have a lot of questions. It'll be interesting to see it. But
Yeah.
moving on, the next game is another remaster. It's Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster, February 1st, 2022.
Yep.
So what do you think about that one?
I just had you remember when we heard about the company that made the Panzer Dragoon remasters. I'm thinking maybe they're the one working on this remaster and the next one we're going to mention, because it's part of the same franchise, quote unquote.
That makes sense. Well, I guess we could just mention the second one too, because it's kind of like tied together. The last game on the list is Tactics or Ogre. I can't talk. Ogre remaster.
Words.
And then that's that's listed as March 1st, 2022.
Just a month after the Tactics remaster. Yeah, would make sense. Still, I think too early for both. I think. But the Tactics Ogre game remaster coming right after the Tactics remaster would make sense. Do you think these
I think the only... Oh, go ahead.
You think they could show up at the Square Enix Presents at the early next year? The one where we think will happen?
I think the thing that gives me pause, and I'll take it back to the beginning of this list with like the Chrono Cross remaster and then the Final Fantasy IX remake, is that this is a lot. This is a lot of remasters. And I feel like with the exception of like the Pixel remasters, which even those when like that was first announced, they made it seem like it was they would be staggered and released really quickly, but like it became really weird because they released the first 3 games at once together, and then I think they released 4, and then there was like a weird gap with 5 that just released, and then we still don't have a release date for 6. So like, I got there is a precedent for them kind of like, you have this staggered release of remasters, but like those are like, I count those differently versus like, you know, these are like getting into like PS1 game remasters where I feel like, you know, between 7, 8, and 9, you know, there was like a huge gap because like, you know, 9 got like a remaster before 8, or I guess the HD port. So I guess to me it's like, I just wonder how realistic is it for them to like release multiple remasters in a year? Well, one, even like announce them together, because I mean they could announce them together and some might come out like in 2023, but I'm even kind of like skeptical of whether they would even announce all of these together, because I just feel like that's not the Square Enix way. Like they just seem to kind of like to draw, like they like to draw things out. So for me, it would be like they would have a Square Enix present, and it would just be one of these. Like it's either Chrono Cross Remaster, and then we don't hear about the others and stuff like that. But that's just me. So I hope Tactics fans, like this is real for Tactics fans, but I'm kind of unsure. It could go either way.
I'm not really, you know, I haven't played Tactics, and I'm not really familiar with Tactics Ogre either, but I would assume that they are, I'd say, easier to develop as remasters than other PS1 games based on, you know, how they look graphically, and thinking about the amount of work that would go into them. So maybe they are closer to the Pixel remastered on the. I mean, I'm not sure. Like I said, I have very little knowledge about both of them. I really want to play them. I was waiting for a remaster of Tactics to try it. It's been something that I wanted to do. But like you said, you're saying if there is a Square Enix present in early next year, you don't see all of these remakes and remaster being announced at the same time?
No, and I question like, because again, you know, some of these may or may not be real because of placeholders. I just question, like when I see so many remasters in a row, I just question like the like how possible it is, just because like just being a Square Enix fan, or like even with the PS2 remasters were like 10, like they literally took so long when they announced the 10 remaster that they basically bundled in 10-2, like they did 10-2. So it'd be like, oh, now it's both games, you know, to justify the wait. And then there was like, people were like, all right, now do 12. And then like, it took them a while to do 12. And then now like the common thing is like, where's the 13 remasters? And so like, you know, and you know, like I guess, you know, as fans, like we think, oh, Square Enix is being slow, but you know, like when you think about like all these games that they have to release, like it makes sense. Like, well, some things can take a while, but I just question like how realistic is it for like them to like release so many remasters in like in the span of like a year or two, because that just seems unprecedented. That just seems unlike them. But that's just me.
Well, it's a pretty important year next year, you know, for Final Fantasy at least. So,
come on, they release for the 30th anniversary. They went on stage and showed off some ramen noodles and wine glasses.
Different Square Enix. It's a different time. It's a
Hopefully. I want to believe. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be lit. Like if they really came out and they had a Square Enix like Final Fantasy anniversary stream where they did like a deep dive on 16. They were like, they did the Oprah Winfrey gif where it's like, here's a remaster, here's a small scale 9 remake. Yeah. I would be down for it. I guess it's just my cause. I'm just hesitant with them because I feel like with Square Enix, there's always like an asterisk to the side. Like even with the Chrono Cross remaster, it's like I want to play that, but it's like, is this gonna even come to consoles? You know, like will I even be able to play this?
Oh come on, no! This is Imagine this not coming to consoles. The outrage. Oh god.
I mean that's true, yeah, because it's a PS. But I feel like people like the main thing people wanted was, I think most people would agree, things like Chrono Trigger and like these pixel remasters would be perfect for the Switch. Yet they're not there. Yeah. So, you know, it might be logical. But I think with the Chrono Cross remaster, yeah, like I feel like I'll take that back. I think that will come to like at least PlayStation.
Yeah.
But like with Tactics is something that like I feel like that could go either way. Like they could just be like, it's mobile and like PC, have fun, and then like.
I mean, it would suck, but as long as for me personally, I'd be happy with just the PC port. But it would suck for a lot of people, so I really wish it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, because like I would prefer to like buy like the pixel remasters on Switch and like play it on PC, just like with Chrono Trigger and like a lot of other titles. But unfortunately, that's not the roll of the dice. So
nope.
We'll see. Do you have any final thoughts on like this entire list? Expectations?
I think the dates are, if not outdated, are off. You know, either outdated or off. I can't see any of these games hitting the day, except maybe Dragon Quest 12. I think we've talked about that, and Final Fantasy 7 remake.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'd be happy with everything on that list, except maybe Kingdom Hearts 4, since I'm pretty sure it's not happening. I'd be happy with everything else though. Be neat.
All right. Well, that's been the GeForce list, everybody. And I guess before we end out the episode, this is a question for you, Joe. You know, have you been playing any, special games or anything?
Yeah.
Like, thoughts?
I prepared myself mentally, and my schedule was based around me playing Endwalker starting yesterday.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm already done with Guardians of the Galaxy in time, and now I have nothing to do for 2 weeks. So I'm probably just going to play my rhythm games and shit like that until Endwalker comes and releases me.
Yeah, I'm in a weird spot because like I don't have a PC to play 14 anymore, and that's also partially why I was trying to get a PS5, because I was like, oh, I could play 14.
Or 14.
I'm behind anyway. Yeah, I'm behind anyway. So like Endwalker, it being delayed is kind of
a 2 week delay isn't going to be enough for you, I'm afraid. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I've seen people. I mean, for me, I play slow, so it's not gonna happen for me. But I've seen people who have gotten through like all these expansions in like 2 weeks. It's crazy to me, but like some people.
2 weeks. I have witnessed people doing it in a couple of months, maybe. You've seen people play all expansions in 2 weeks?
Well, I feel like, I guess to be fair, I think like she took a break because she got like, I think also life and like, stuff happened. But like, I feel like Aerith got through like, she got all the way to like Stormborn like pretty quickly. Maybe it could have been more than 2 weeks. But I know it wasn't more than a month. Like I could be wrong. Like maybe like I would have to like double check with her. But I feel like Aerith got through like I feel like she got through the expansion pretty quickly.
Good for her.
I could be wrong though. I could be wrong though. So I do think it is possible. Like I know somebody who also has been playing. I think they're at Heaven's War, but they've I'm pretty sure have been playing more than like 2 months. Not 2 months, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But it just depends on the pacing, and like I only have like a week off of work anyway, so like I probably won't be playing. If I do get a PS5, I probably won't be playing much anyway.
Well,
When Walker drops,
it's not going anywhere. You'll play at your own pace, and well, help you get through whatever.
But sometimes you want to be a part of like everybody getting through like the story content together. But it's all good. It's all good.
7.0, sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'll be there in like 2050. Like I finally reached Walker. But anyway, I guess for me, it's been hard to play games right now. But I bought No Straight Roads.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I've been playing it a little bit. I know somebody who's actually involved in the production of that game. They were kind of saying the Switch version, they didn't really recommend it, but I was like, it's too late, I already bought it. Yeah. And for me, I like the music a lot. I think the gameplay is the thing I'm struggling with because I can't tell if like maybe it's the Switch issue, like maybe it's the Switch port.
No,
if I just suck, yeah.
No, I've played the demo on PC. I think it's a general jank issue with the game.
Like okay. Yeah. And so, look, I like the idea. Like, I like everything about the game except for the gameplay. It's just a shame. But I'm going to keep playing it. But I find it really funny. Like, that was one thing that really surprised me was, like, the humor of it. And,
dialogue, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, like, it's different. Like, it's not a game you would get in, like, the AAA space or whatever.
Sure.
So, if it's on sale, if people are listening, if you want to support like an indie, game or whatever, why not? Yeah. Like the music, like I said, the music is really, really good. Really good. But yeah, like I'm on the second boss, like the mermaid chick who has like the best theme in the game in my opinion. So that's what I've been playing. Cool. And I also tried out the the Grand Theft Auto like Definite Edition.
Oh,
okay. I didn't buy it.
I've heard things. Go ahead. Yeah.
I didn't buy it, but like the San Andreas is on Game Pass, so I downloaded it, and I didn't play a ton of it, but like you can see like the jarriness of like them adding like the Grand Theft Auto lighting to it, but like not fine tweaking it, or it'll be like weirdly dark. And I don't know if this is just me, like maybe it was the controls, but like when you play San Andreas and like you got to use the bike at the beginning, and I felt like it was very hard to control the bike. I don't know, maybe it was just me or I don't know, but yeah, there's like I didn't play it enough to experience glitches, but I just noticed like weird things. So like I'm glad I didn't pre-order or anything like that.
Yeah. I think it's just old gameplay that wasn't updated, right?
I mean, I think probably maybe some of that, but I know there's also stuff of it just being like bad, like because people talk about like those little games had jank, but like there's a lot of jank that's there that has nothing to do with the like it's new jank, like there's new jank that's being added that has nothing to do with like the old game is just. I don't know what happened with the making of these.
I guess remastering open world games, even if they're old, it's pretty hard. Especially, I think they used a lot of AI to help them with the process, so that wasn't really great.
Yeah, like I think I don't think there was probably the amount of care that was put into like. These games, like, these games mean a lot to a lot of people. Like honestly, I haven't cared about a Grand Theft Auto game after San Andreas. So, like, so I think more care should have been put into it. Like, I know I was listening to a podcast where I think they were saying that, like, I think the theory is that, like, it wasn't like I think Grand Theft Auto 5 was supposed to have like its next gen port or something, or like Rockstar was supposed to be doing something, and I think it got delayed, and people think that maybe like this was already in the works, but maybe they pushed it up, like this trilogy port, they pushed it up to like make up for the fact that something else got delayed, and they probably shouldn't have done that. But that's just a theory, so I don't know.
Yeah, like you said, it should have been given more care, especially if they decided to name it the definitive edition. So
yeah, and they took the original versions off the stores.
Yeah, that as
like
well.
If you want, yeah, I think they did come out, like Rockstar like put out like a statement like apologizing for the quality, and I think they only put up the original versions back up on PC, and even then it's only PC through like their launcher. So like if you're a console player, like you're still like unless you got like the disc, you can't like play them. I don't even think Vice City is backwards compatible on Xbox. I know San Andreas is, but like if you have an Xbox, like if you want to play Vice City, you're kind of just out of luck.
Yeah.
But yeah. But all right. Well, games, everybody. They're great, even with all their problems.
We've talked a lot about remasters and remakes today.
Yeah. So I think that was like a good way to like end today's episode of like talking about a bad example of a remaster, which I think thankfully, even as much as we complain about Square Enix not putting as much effort as we would like into remasters and ports, I feel like they've never. I think the Chrono Trigger one, there was like issues that like fans complained about, but I don't think they've ever just put out like a port that just was like terrible, like just absolutely like awful, at least in my opinion.
I don't think so.
That.
Yeah.
So.
But to be fair, I personally think it's harder to remaster GTA games than Pixel the Final Fantasy old games, or even the PS1 games. Like I said, open world games. But like you said, it's not an excuse that it should have been given more care.
Yeah. Game. If there's something that comes up every single episode of this podcast, is game development isn't easy. And honestly, as someone who like programs and stuff, coding isn't easy. Like I've run into my frustration, so I can't imagine. It's easy. It's very easy to like be an armchair developer and say what you think. I'm guilty of it sometimes myself, but it's not easy, especially when you have things like budgets and time constraints factor into it. So
yes,
I think that's Chastity's and Jill's final thoughts. A deep cut.
Growth.
We touched on religion. We touched on game development. This has been a very diverse.
Well, no Undertale this time, I guess.
Yeah, no Undertale, unfortunately. So we'll see you next time. And as always, thank you for listening. And whatever you celebrate, like this fall and like winter, I hope everybody listening, stay safe and spend time with your family. Tell somebody you love them. And, enjoy the holidays. So see you next time. Bye.
Bye.